What's going on, guys? It's Michael MGF, and I am so excited to be back with this brand new custom LEGO minifigure showcase video, this time featuring Ant-Man and the Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, of course, the movie did already drop a couple weeks ago here in the US, and it was great. However, it is just now coming out in France and not coming out until like August 3rd in the UK, so we're technically still celebrating the release. But yeah, I really did want to take my time on these two, though, especially with just how bad LEGO's minifigures were and just how difficult it was to pull off the helmets and especially the wings on Wasp as well. So definitely a pretty challenging process with these two, and I'll get into all of that in just a second. But before I get started, I did add brand new phone cases and posters featuring these two on the store, so if you want to support the channel, that's a thing. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, so starting off with Ant-Man, of course, like I mentioned, both of these minifigures were very challenging, especially when it came to making the helmets, because of course, with the new Ant-Man and the Wasp set that came out just a couple months ago, LEGO rehashed their 2015 Ant-Man helmet, which wasn't even accurate back then, so to have it in the set for the 2018 version of the suit was just really a shame, and so of course I got to work on modifying the hell out of it to make the one that you see here, not only by doing what I used to do with my custom Ant-Man minifigures and just shaving down the sides and basically adding my own antennas and painting over that like I did here for Civil War back in 2016, but I actually drilled out the entire front of the helmet on both Ant-Man and the Wasp here, because the one problem with LEGO's Ant-Man helmet, the one of many problems, is the fact that it has round lenses, which is not accurate, and instead of doing what I basically did for my first two Ant-Man minifigures and just basically painting over those round lenses, I really wanted the minifigure to be a little bit more accurate this time, and that is why I installed my own cut-up LEGO motorcyclist visor, and it was definitely a pretty intense process, because even once I drilled out the front, inserted that visor, of course I also had to sculpt over it and, you know, basically make the shapes of the lenses. It was a very intense and drawn-out process for both of these minifigures, and it definitely took several days for each helmet, allowing the different sections and layers to cure. But even though a decent amount of people aren't fond of how this helmet turned out, I'm personally super proud of it, and it's exactly how I wanted it to look. So underneath the helmet, of course, I do have the Ezra Bridger head from Star Wars Rebels. Even though back in 2015 I wasn't a big fan of it for Paul Rudd, I definitely have changed my opinion now, and I really do think it works. So I painted the eyebrows and painted my own stubble, and on top of that painted my own like collar around the neck, along with two silver rings as well. So I think that turned out pretty awesome, and of course I do have some painted details on the top of the torso as well that are present there. The entire minifigure and all of the metallic red that you see is painted in the same metallic red that I used for the Iron Man Mark 50 and the Iron Spider suit from Infinity War. The belt, of course, features different 3D elements. The regulator is sculpted, and then the two pouches are actually made from some standard rubber that I actually cut up and pretty much fit to size, so that I could basically glue the different sections split in half onto both the torso and the belt piece so that they could connect and basically form a similar crease to what those attachments actually do already in the movie. Then, of course, the arms, legs, all fully painted, making sure I could get them as accurate as possible. You can see the gauntlets, the hands, all painted there, and all the different lines, I would say, are definitely really tedious and time consuming, especially when you have to make lines basically run that precise and that straight around the arms and around a four-sided minifigure leg. So that was definitely pretty interesting. And then, of course, also the back piece is made out of styrene, actually, and then fully painted as well. But I'm really happy with how Ant-Man turned out. And before I forget, I did paint up a dark brown sleepy hairpiece for him for when I do have the helmet removed, and I definitely think that this captures the likeness to Paul Rudd pretty well, and I'm definitely pretty proud of that. So other than that, though, that is really it for my Ant-Man minifigure from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And like I said, I am so proud of how this minifigure turned out. It was a pretty lengthy process, and one last detail, you might notice that I also did paint the buttons onto both of his hands as well. So there you go. That is going to be my Ant-Man for not only this movie, but also Avengers 4 next year, because his costume is not changing. So this will ultimately be a stand-in for that showcase in 2019. And of course, Hope Van Dyne finally suiting up as the Wasp. I am so proud of how this minifigure turned out. Of course, especially the helmet, which was really challenging. And one thing I didn't mention with Ant-Man there is another big reason why I opted to basically not only sand the crap out of standard LEGO Ant-Man helmets to pull these off, but I also really wanted you to be able to see their eyes. That was a big thing that I really feel like was absent with my first two Ant-Man minifigures that I had made in the past. Because when you watch the movie, you can very clearly clearly see their eyes through the entirety of it, and that is just not something I wanted to miss out on once again. And so that is why I did the same exact thing by cutting up a trans yellow motorcyclist helmet visor and installing it into the drilled up front of a Lego Ant-Man helmet. So this helmet basically went from this to what you see here, and it was a very involved process, and I would say probably a little bit more difficult than Ant-Man's. And obviously also I had to do some more precise sanding on like the top here to get that angle that you see on there, and then also on the back as well before I did any installation of the visor. Any of that stuff happened, and so definitely a lot more of a process with the Wasp, I would say. And then of course sculpting onto the sides, and then making the antennas out of rubber, and then just basically pressing those in place as well. Like I said, just a very challenging helmet to make, but it turned out exactly how I wanted it to. So if we go ahead and remove it though, I do actually have the Tariel head from the Hobbit sets, because Evangeline Lilly of course did play her in that series as well. And I did actually take an eraser to this head, and I pretty much removed the freckles because I don't really know why Lego printed those on in the first place back then. However, with the rest of the minifigure, you can see it is all fully painted, and I actually mixed my own metallic gold color for Wasp because it's actually much more of a like drab and dull gold that she has running through her suit, and not really very vibrant. And so I made sure to basically portray exactly that with this gold color that you see on this minifigure. I also do have a couple different shades of blue, obviously with the standard like dark blue Lego hands, which do have painted detail onto them as well. But also you can see I do have some shading around like the thighs, also a bit on the top of the shoulders, and then also on the front of the feet there. So I definitely think that adds a pretty good amount of detail. But then also the gauntlets are all three-dimensional, using about, I would say, I think it was like 2 different layers for the gauntlets themselves, and then the actual blasters are made from rubber and glued on and fully painted. And finally, the back. As you can see, I didn't remove the freckles on the aggressive facial expression because I'm probably never going to use it. You can see how the wings are attached. Let's finally discuss the wings. So basically the way I went about doing this was I was actually watching an action figure review of the Marvel Legends Wasp, and I pretty much paused the video where the YouTuber was holding them up, and then I took that into Photoshop, just hit it with a black overlay, got the basic outline of the wings from that screenshot, imported that into Word, and then pretty much just printed them out, got the right size for both sets of wings, and then I glued them onto this very precisely cut up piece of fabric that you can see also includes a neck brace, because of course it was originally an accessory from Cape Madness. So with all of that, and once all that was done, I glued on this little piece that you see onto the back here that is also made out of rubber before I painted all of this. And one major thing that I think you already noticed at this point is just how many dots I painted onto these wings. It was very time consuming. It took me a full day to get all these dots painted on, and I'm so glad I did it though, because I definitely think it adds a lot of detail, and I think otherwise this minifigure might not have stood out all that much. So I think they turned out looking really fantastic, and this minifigure, I think, and I just shook the background, I think this minifigure turned out looking really fantastic. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I think on that note though, I'm going to go ahead and finally wrap up this video, guys.
Scott, is this Luis's phone?
No, it's a burner Cap gave me. Hello?
Lang, I'm sorry about this, but we need your help.
Oh boy.
We're expecting an attack on Wakanda.
Wakanda? From who?
I'll explain everything later. We're sending a ship now. Suit up.
Wait, Cap. Ah, crap. I'm already in the suit.
I'm going with you this time.
Oh, what the hell?
God! What was that guy's skin made of?
20 minutes later.
Thanks for coming, Lang. We probably couldn't have stopped him without you. Yeah, no, we were completely oblivious until you called. We were trying to help save this ghost lady. Oh, no. Hank!
Yeah, Scott, she's dead.
Damn it!
Okay, and there you go. That is it for my Ant-Man and the Wasp showcase. I know it's probably too late now, but I am not going to be making Ghost. Probably should have mentioned that earlier, but I didn't really find her character to be compelling enough to the point where I wanted to invest that much effort into actually doing so, but she was definitely pretty cool. However, if you did enjoy this showcase of the two main heroes, the two main characters, be sure to let me know, man, by dropping this video a like below and or your opinion on these minifigures down in the comments. Like I mentioned earlier, I know not everybody agrees with the Ant-Man helmet, and that's totally okay, but my next project is going to be Venom. So that's going to be fun. Probably going to take just as long as both of these two did to make, because that figure is just not going to be easy and is going to be pretty challenging. We'll see how it turns out. But ultimately, even though I'm not overly excited for the movie, Venom himself does look pretty damn cool, so I'm excited to do that. And if you do want to keep up with all the progress photos that I'll be posting of him over on my Patreon as I work on him, then definitely consider checking that out. It's a super cool place where I get to post all kinds of early stuff for all those guys over there. But yeah, other than that though, when he is preview ready, after enough progress photos are posted over on my Patreon, I will be posting previews of him over on the Twitter, the Facebook, and the Instagram. I actually just got my Twitter back recently, so that's pretty awesome. And yeah. Then after Venom, it's going to be a pretty cool couple of showcases that I've got planned for you guys, and I cannot wait to talk more about those pretty soon. But on that note, that is it for this video, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time. All right, bye-bye. First off, Lego's Ant-Man helmet being just dropped it. Okay, good.
Oh, what the dickens, Scott? I'll have to arrest you.
Hope I'm gonna need that lab back.
Oh my god, can you guys go away? Can't you see we're trying to tell a story?
Hope, look, it's your mother.
I evolved.